and to support each other in times of need. And front line of pushing the Swedish government to support Sierra Leone more during the outbreak of Ebola. So we've achieved quite a lot, even though we do not have a huge number of Sierra Leoneans who are
our travel blog on _99. Kindly subscribe, like, and share my video.
Some are active,
I am at a seminar organized by the Sierra Leone community
and this year, as
in
we are
Sweden.
celebrating the 20th anniversary,
Shortly, I'm going to show you
we think there is
Evan
no better way to,
Akisoya, the sitting mayor
than
of Freetown. She came all the way from Sierra Leone to grace this occasion to tell us some histories about our heritage. I am here with the Salon Union. Kindly consider to subscribe, like, and share my video. Let me start to show you.
Went down, and she is one of the most vibrant and inspirational voices in Sierra Leone today, female voices in Sierra Leone today. And she's serving her second term as the mayor of Freetown. Not only that, she's also the co-chair of C40. It's an organization for mayors around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome the mayor of Freetown.
Everyone, thank you very much, Ishmael, for that introduction. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'd like to say thank you to, I can't pronounce this, is it Orslis? Did I get that right?
Orslis, yeah.
Okay, good. Congratulations to Orslis on 20 years. When I got the email and was asked to give this lecture, I thought, what an interesting topic. You know, it's not every day you're asked to talk about the slave trade. And given that I'm not a historian, I kind of question my ability to do so. But on reflection, I think there's a very useful way in which I can project this story and refer to or do justice to the topic. So Freetown is in its second term with me as mayor. In our first term, our focus was an administrative plan called Transform Freetown, our development plan. It had 4 clusters, 11 priority sectors, and 19 targets. In my second administration, we're moving forward. We're building on Transform Freetown. And this time, our administrative plan is called Transform Freetown, Transforming Lives. And instead of 19 targets, which focus on the environment, sanitation, education, and so forth, we have one overriding target, and that is to create 120,000 dignified jobs for women and youth by 2028. In order for us to do that, we are again focusing on 4 clusters. The first, not surprisingly, is climate action. And by the way, C40 is a network of cities fighting against the climate crisis. The second is where this topic comes in, and which makes it sensible and right for me to be here today. That second cluster is heritage tourism, talking about and sharing. That second is heritage tourism, and like I said, it really makes sense in the context of this topic because it begins to tell a little bit of our story. The third is the digital economy, and the fourth is human capital development. So on to the story. It's really important for first. And the journey that you tell is a journey from different perspectives at different points in time, and all stories are relevant. So the Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone, known as Freetown today, was actually known as Romarang before the settlers arrived. And it was known as Romarang. It had been settled by the Limpa people and the Timni people, who are indigenous to Sierra Leone. The name Freetown came about or was used first in 1792, and really has now been associated with 4 groups of people who came to that beautiful coastline of Freetown. And for those of you who don't know it, who've never been, I know that won't account for most people on the left hand of the room, but for those on the right who may not have been, Freetown is nestled between the Atlantic Ocean and a mountain range. And when you're coming in, as Pedro de Sintra did in the, I think it was the 1500s, and you see the mountains, it looks like a lion crouching. hence the name Sierra Leone, Portuguese, originally Sierra Leone, Lion Mountain, but coming back to the story of Freetown. So there were 4 groups of settlers. In 1787, the first group arrived there, and they were coming from the United Kingdom, from England, about 411 of them, and their journey had been facilitated by the abolitionists, those campaigning against this trade in slaves in the United Kingdom, in England. At the time, slavery had yet to be abolished. It wasn't abolished until 1807 in the UK, but there were people who were given their freedom or who had received their freedom, and about 411 of them came. But at that time, Freetown wasn't called Freetown. It took on the name of Granville Sharp, who was one of the abolitionists, and it was called Granville Town. And that name still exists in a place called Granville Brook. For those who are from Freetown, is anyone familiar with Granville Brook? It's near Kissy, yes. And the other person who was very involved in this was William Wilberforce. And we know of Wilberforce Village, we know Wilberforce Street. So those names followed through. So you have that group, but they didn't have a very good time. They suffered greatly from malaria. Many of them died. And for those who survived, they were constantly being attacked by the young man called Thomas Peters, who is believed to originally have been from the Yoruba people, was in the US. He had been captured, taken as a slave. He tried to escape 3 times, and on 3 occasions, he'd been recaptured. But he went on to serve in the British Army during the Revolution, the American Civil Revolution, when they were wanting to get rid of the Brits. He fought on the side of the British, and along with many other formerly enslaved people. In response or as a reward, even though of course we know the British lost, these black loyalists, as they were called, were promised land in Nova Scotia. And they were promised passage to Nova Scotia. And they began to move. They were effectively moved as a community. I have today come with a book because this story becomes very personal for me at this stage. This book, Our Ancestors in the Fellowship of the Free, is the story of my family, written by my sister and my cousin. And they were, my 4th generation great-grandfather was among those who moved from Virginia to New York and then on to Nova Scotia. They got to Nova Scotia and the deal was not the deal. How many times has that happened in life? The land was not available for the black loyalists. Their conditions were really dreadful. And after a lot of suffering and hardship, Thomas Peters made his way to London to advocate for the people who had been loyal to the empire, to the British. And when he was there, he was able to meet with the support of, I'm not going to pronounce his name right, another abolitionist who we all learned about in history class. So I'm going to take my book and say the name because somebody should know this. Right. Oluwade Equino. Do you remember that name? You guys into history? Yeah. Short history of Africa. Yeah. Yes. So with his support, Thomas Peters connected with Granville Sharp, with William Wilberforce, and the other abolitionists, and they brought to his attention the land in Sierra Leone, where currently then called Granville Town, where the black loyalists from the UK had settled just a few years earlier. This was now 1791. And by 1792, agreement had been reached for this group of people in Nova Scotia to move and settle in, well, still wasn't Freetown, in Sierra Leone. This was passed in the UK Parliament. A Sierra Leone company was established. That law was passed in 1791. And on the 15th of January, 1792, it started with 16 ships, but sadly one of them didn't make it. 16 ships sailed to Freetown, to what would become Freetown. There were 1,196 people on board. And one of the most interesting things about this is obviously we didn't have mobile phones or text messages at the time. So the message to tell people the ships are coming, be at the quay so you can be part of the move to Sierra Leone, didn't get to all the families. And today in Halifax, Nova Scotia, there are family members, particularly the Hamilton family, who didn't get the message, but we're still in touch with them. So the families were separated at that point. And in Halifax, the mayor of Halifax and the City Hall of Halifax celebrate the 15th of January every year as the date that the ships left. And we in Freetown celebrate the 11th of March every year as the date that the ships arrived. And 2 years ago, we celebrated 230 years of that anniversary. And I'll be showing you a short clip that just gives you a sense of what that celebration meant. So now we have two groups of people. We have the original settlers from England, the Black Loyalists, the small group. We then have they're known as the Nova Scotians, who came on the 11th of March, 1792. And then the movement continued. Different things were happening in different parts of the free world or the Western world. One of the things that was going on was that there were a group of people called the Maroons in Maroon Town in Jamaica, who refused to bow to the British colonization, refused to be enslaved, and constantly fought. They had a number of wars and battles with the British, and by 1796, they actually had to sign a third treaty. In a bid to make sure they kept their freedom, they burnt all their homes in Trelawney Town. Do you guys know Trelawney Street? Anybody here remember that word? Trelawney Street, well, that's where they came from. That's where that name came from. So the Maroons burnt their homes and they went into the bush and began a guerrilla warfare against the British. Eventually, there was a treaty signed, and that led to them agreeing. It took a while, but them agreeing to move to this land where they would have their freedom and they would have the opportunity to control their own destiny. So by 1800, a third group of people came to Freetown, the Maroons. It happened that on the day that they arrived, the Nova Scotians had been trying to shake off the control of the Sierra Leone Company, the representation of the British Empire. And they had been planning a revolt. And the Maroons ship arrived just as they were seeking to execute that. And given that the Maroons had been given passage by the British, they gave them instructions to effectively stop what the Nova Scotians were doing, to disrupt their planned activities. So that set them off on a very bad footing. So we then had the Maroons and the Nova Scotians against each other in Freetown, created a lot of tension. But eventually, that tension subsided. And one of the reasons is because on the father's side, on the paternal side, on the Nova Scotians, it was the Edmonds, but on the Maroon side, it was the Morgans. And the Morgan daughter married the Edmonds' son. And that brought peace between the Nova Scotians and the Maroons. We had a fourth group of settlers, the liberated Africans. As I mentioned, slavery wasn't stopped until 1807. officially. But one is only one person's story. There are always other stories. There are always other people. There were always other journeys. And what we sought to do in 2 years ago when we celebrated 230 years of Freetown was to ensure that we were recognizing that before the settlers came, there were other people. And after the settlers came, more people came. And what we have today is a city that has 17 different ethnic groups. We represent every ethnic group in the country. Everyone. It made sense to me to be able to have this opportunity to share this story, because we are now at a place where we believe that more people need to not only hear our story, but to see our story. So we're reaching out. We're reaching out really to the world and saying, this is a little place in the globe that has so much to offer. The warmth of the people, the heritage sites, the architectural history, so the costumes. Peggy is wearing one right now. This is like a typical settler outfit. And if you look closely, I have a version where I've got the petticoat under, because we're talking about the end of slavery. We're talking about the 1700s. So it was Victorian dresses. So you see that sort of still there. And I'm wearing the opposite. I'm wearing what would be typically Temne and Lapa. So this would be from an indigenous ethnic group, from the Timni people or any of the other tribes. So we have such a mix and such a blend, and that's what makes Freetown special. And beyond that, there's so many people who today are able to do their DNA and find out where they originally came from. African Americans, people in the Caribbean, and even people in Sierra Leone. I did my DNA because of my history. You know, my grandparents, great coming from Nova Scotia and Jamaica, respectively. I kind of wondered, well, where did they come from before they were taken as slaves? And my DNA came out with me being on my father's side from Guinea-Bissau, Fulani, and on my mother's side, Yoruba from Nigeria. So it's just such an interesting story. And beyond that, we have the beaches, the food, the music, the culture. The oldest university in Africa is found in Sierra Leone, in Freetown. Fairbank College, built in 1827. And talking about those connections of slaves that came into South Carolina, landed. 90% of them came from Bunce Island, which is just off the coast of Freetown. And today, we're making sure that we're bridging those gaps, telling those stories, so that people have the opportunity to experience a little piece of our history. So,
yes, my people, I'm here. Also, I will be on _99 today with this is Aki Sawyer. She came all the way from Sierra Leone. She is a sitting mayor of Freetown. She's here to give us history about Sierra Leone. As you can see from her speech, and she's telling us. So guys, in case you are just new or you are just coming to this channel, kindly subscribe, like and share my video. Our travel vlog _99. We are here today with lots of Sierra Leoneans and other people from different backgrounds to grace this event. Yes. So yes, our travel vlog _99. I go by the name of Ture. Kindly subscribe, like and share my video. Today I'm here at a very important event where Her Lordship, the Mayor of Freetown, traveled all the way from Sierra Leone. She came to grace this occasion. Yes, in our midst We have Mrs. Vicky Bube. She's here. Let me say hello.
Hello, this is Piegi with a Piegi Movie smile.
You're welcome.
In my print, honoring our mayor, our worship.
He really is bad. Put the volume up. Let's just start that again. I'll take over.
Say hello.
Yeah. How are you?
Mommy, say hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of love and togetherness in the air. And
Yes, guys, we're still here gracing the occasion.
Because as people of Sierra Leone, we
Let me
really
show you
have
from
people
the
there where
screen
we
there
like we say,
to see.
we like we country. So I just believe say this celebration is a celebration of unity. It's a celebration of love. It's a celebration to say we are all one people and we're here for one purpose.
Guys, so far so good. Keep it locked. I will be with you as I'm covering this event. Yes, I go by the name of 2 Hours Travel Club _99. Kindly subscribe, like, and share my videos. Yeah, we are here. Yeah, this event is taking place in the capital city of Sweden, Stockholm to be specific. You're always welcome to this channel. Keep it locked. I will join you shortly. Yes, guys.
Energy was fantastic. All the matter.
It's a little bit diverted towards peace. As you've done the presentations, I personally do admire your transformations from being an accountant, which I am also, to this point. So I admire you a lot, and I follow your stories and how you decide to go back to help your people. I do admire that personally, and I hold that to the highest esteem. I must say, you are one of the best, among the few best of Sierra Leoneans that I've ever had to talk to or listen to. So thank you very much. But going forward, fast forward, the question is, I know we have had a lot of conceptual misrepresentations in communications with regards to audios and some other ways. And Sierra Leoneans were peaceful people. And where we are, we fight for peace. And we have to tell our stories as Sierra Leoneans, which I think we're about to do, and you've already done so today for our audience, and at the same time for our guests. They now know Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is a very little land, but at the same time, we have a very big heart, and we always strive to sell ourselves wherever we find ourselves. That's what we are doing here in Sweden as well. We tell our story for people to understand. But
my name is Tengo Kilumanga, and I'm from Tanzania. This was very interesting. No, so we're free, but we are not free. We just, you call this, in Swahili we say, bendera ya uhuru wa bendera. Well, how do we address this? Africa has to change. So what are you doing as community leaders, as heads of states, and what are we doing? What can we do to get away from this? We're so dependent on Europe, the US, Britain, and we at the same time can do so much for ourselves. Do we need this help? Can't we trade among ourselves only? Can't we use the African diaspora and the educated people of Africa, and we build our countries? Why is it we're stuck in this?
What you call of the war, poverty, and how the country was building up. Okay, so the question is like this. I'm very interested in IT right now. Do you believe, not, this is my word, linear development? I understand you want to put the food on the table, put the food to the family and the nation and to the city, Freetown. Do you believe you can deploy investment into high-tech?
They live in the Adelaide Street, Freetown Road area.
Thank you, Her Worship the Mayor, for this marvelous presentation. Thank you for coming to Stockholm. My question is, you spoke about the heritage tourism, of which is really my concern. What have you put in place for the boat houses the Bodos, for us to sustain, for at least to have like a street on Pandemba Road where we have several of them, sustain them, maintain them, so our tourists can visit and see that these are the real Creole houses that we had in Sierra Leone.
Your coming here underscores the need for us to recalibrate our marketing strategies, our the way we publicize what we have in Sierra Leone. So thank you for coming. Based on the brief that you've presented, fast forward to where we are today, not losing the retrospect of slavery and the recent 63-year celebration of our independence. Some of us who have been living in Sweden, I will take this opportunity as well to thank our host. I'm now a citizen, a Swedish citizen, but I still refer myself as a Sierra Leonean, my first country of birth. I want to thank the Swedish government for giving us an opportunity after the war to house us, help us educate ourselves. Today, some of us are working in public institutions. We thank the Swedish government for that. I just want to ask my question, where are we? If you, as one of the persons in leadership that I have been opportune to come so closer to personally have a question to be answered, I would like to know, based on your knowledge of slavery, your knowledge of where we are today, and the struggle underwent for us to become, to rule ourselves, where are we today? Do you think we are where we expected to be in terms of the maximum good for the maximum number? Because you spoke in many of your presentation, you mentioned putting food on table. This for us, for the past 23 years living in Sweden, are basics. We have them. We have electricity, we have clean water, we have food. You spoke quite recently of paying our dues through our telephone. Simple things are lacking. Where are we today in Sierra Leone, based upon these few artifacts that I've mentioned? Where are we? Where do we expect to be? Are we there?
Well, I think, again, you've answered your own question because you've told us where we are.
We are not there.
I want to do a comparative analysis, socio-political comparative analysis.
Between what and what?
Today, slavery, independence, and today. Are we where we wanted to be?
That's a judgment which would be made by each person. I don't think I'm qualified to speak on behalf of the whole. What I can say, and I think I have alluded to that throughout my answers to the questions, not the presentation, but my answers to the questions. It is clear that the potential that we have as a nation has not been fulfilled. That's both in terms of the utilization of the natural resources that we've been blessed with, as well as the people. I mean, we talked about the Bodos. In speaking about the Bodos, we mentioned the fact that we have a brain drain. In speaking about the fact that, the architecture, the international architecture is such that brains or skills and professionals can be drawn at will. And they move because people are moving to where they feel they have better opportunities for their lives. When I became mayor in 2018, I was invited to join an organization called the Mayor's Migration Council. It was then, there were only about 7 of us then, a small group of mayors, Montreal, Los Angeles, Paris, Oman, as a city of transit. Who else was there? Kampala, which surprisingly is actually a major destination city for refugees. And then Freetown as a city of origin. And in the meetings, we met in Marrakesh on the sidelines of the Global Refugee, the agreement for the Global Refugee Compact. And the discussion was very much with my colleague mayors around how to ensure that refugees were welcomed into their cities. pursuit of happiness, we see people move. So that tells you that the happiness that they want, they're not finding in their place of birth. That's our answer. That's the problem that we need to solve. That problem isn't solved just with one set of people. Those of you in this room should know that we all have that choice. I'm a British citizen. I can live where I want. I choose to serve. And when we talk, thank you. And when we talk about the problems, we need to understand that we all have a role we can play. And that role should go beyond WhatsApp. Yes. It should go beyond WhatsApp. Yes. You know, there are practical things every person in this room can do. And I would put it to you, sir. You know, what actions can we do, can you do, in order to address the problem that we see? It takes many drops of water, but it's individual drops that make a mighty ocean. Thank you.
Certificate of Appreciation. The following award is given to Mayor Yvonne Akinsoya. This certificate is given to Her Worship, the Mayor of Freetown, for her participation as a keynote speaker in the first ever seminar event that was organized by the Organization of Sierra Leoneans in Sweden.
Thank you.
And also Mayor.
John is my brother.
Yes. We have a senior
Thank you.
so that you have been in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
So
This is very
this-
significant to Sweden.
Okay.
And this is our Swedish flag.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
My hands are very cold.
They were cold.
I hope you will have been.
Thank you. Thank you. And I see I'm wearing the Swedish colors today. So really entering into the moment. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Yes, this is where the talking ends, and this is where the refreshment starts. So we have a little trick here. If you just go to the side of the room here, there are some type of cake. There used to be a lot of course, as you would expect, Europeans in Africa. They say, legends say, those Europeans who first discovered puff cake, they never came back to Europe. So sweet. So go and try. We have some refreshments. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for coming today and participating. Let's have some.
Yes, our travel blog _99 kindly. Always consider to subscribe, like, and share my video. Scroll down, hit that subscribe button, get me to more subscribers. Today I'm here in Sweden, Stockholm to be specific. We have a very wonderful and very great personality who came all the way from Sierra Leone. It's not less a person, Her Lordship, the Mayor of Freetown. She is invited over to come and grace an event, the first episode of this event. With me here today, I have the Lordship and Mayor from Freetown. Yes, ma'am. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah. Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Yvonne Akinsoya, the Mayor of Freetown.
Thank you. What is your purpose of coming to Sweden, Stockholm to be specific?
So I was invited by the Organization of Sierra Leoneans in Sweden, and thankfully I happened to be in between two other meetings. So I've just been at an official engagement in Germany, and I'm going to London for another engagement with the World Bank on Tuesday. So it was very convenient for me to stop by in Sweden and join them at this seminar at which I was asked to speak on the founding of Freetown.
Thank you very much. Sincerely speaking, we all gathered here today. We, the Sierra Leoneans and other nationality from different countries, including the Swedish people, they are here. We all listened to Her Lordship, the Mayor, Mrs. Akisoya. She gave her utmost best and very good quality analysis about our country, Sierra Leone, the history and the foundation. So Mrs. Akisoya, the Mayor of Freetown City Council, you always welcome to Sweden, and you also always welcome to my YouTube channel, our travel vlog _99. Yes guys, in front of me, her Mayor, the Lordship of Freetown, Mayor Akisoya. Let's continue with our question. And during the event, lots of questions are asked from different individuals from different countries, and your response, they are very, very good and wonderful. And what could be your advice for other city mayors around Africa and around the globe, for mayors like your type, to transform your cities, to transform your country, to participate in good governance?
Well, I think it's really important for there to be good governance. And one of the things that's been very interesting for me is the fact that this is a diaspora event. It's not something I, go to often, but there's a real value, particularly with Freetown, as we try to promote heritage tourism. There's real value for our constituents who live out of the country to be aware of what we're doing, and also to serve as ambassadors for us. So the participation in events organized by diaspora is something that I'd recommend to other mayors. I would also, with respect to your question about good governance, I'd also just say that as a principle, as a guiding principle, we can't develop, we can't have progress, we can't improve the lives of our residents without good governance. So that's something I believe in very, very sincerely, and something that I would encourage, among all peers. I believe that if people are serving, they're serving knowing that good governance is what's going to give success.
Yeah. Also, travel vlog _99. Today I'm here with Her Lordship, the Mayor of Freetown. She came all the way from Sierra Leone to grace this event here in Sweden, Stockholm to be specific. So let me ask her my final question and I close this interview. But before that, scroll down, click on the subscribe button, subscribe to get me more subscribers. Yes, Her Lordship, now you have been elected twice into the mayorship position. What is your challenges as for now as a city mayor in Freetown? What is your challenges you face?
I think the biggest challenge is the rapid growth of our population. Freetown is growing exponentially. People are coming to the city in huge numbers from other parts of the country due to climate shocks affecting agriculture, people looking for economic opportunities, and at the same time, we don't have a land use planning sort of regime or building permit regime that prevents housing from happening everywhere and anywhere. That increase in the population size also means you have more people coming onto the streets to trade, because that's the main activity, economic activity in the city. So I think the combination of those two things, the huge numbers and the growing numbers, because it's one thing to be big, but it's the speed at which you're growing, and then the inability currently, although we are hopeful that there will soon be a devolution of planning to the councils. We're hopeful because without planning, it's very difficult to be able to manage the population size and to be able to deliver services to our residents.
Yes, guys. For me, being a Sierra Leonean resident in Sweden, also Her Lordship, she's also a Sierra Leonean, a British citizen, but she's massively doing very, 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 very well in the capital city of Freetown. So I'm going to end this interview by speaking our local dialect, which is Creole, broken English. So stay tuned, keep it locked, and continue to watch the interview. We close this interview with Creole. Yes, the mama of Freetown. This now we final word now. So waiting I last word they get for tell the people the way they watch you.
I want to tell all man say, let me continue for stand firm for the city and do the best way we can for make our own personal contributions. For that, I will always say, be a person of integrity, be a person of hard work, be a person we look not for today, but for tomorrow.
Thank you, Ma, very much for being on my YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.